Hey everyone, Mr. Macintosh here, and the moment you've been waiting for is here. The next major version of OpenCore Legacy Patcher is here, 2.0.0. This is a huge update that includes many improvements to the patcher, along with support for macOS Sequoia. This has been a huge project all summer long that the developers have been working on. In this video, we're going to go over everything that you're going to need to know about this major version, including whether your Mac is supported, and there's some limitations that we're going to need to cover because of this is a brand new operating system and there's still work being done. Plus, we're going to go over the full change logs and the changes that are inside the patcher, including now 14 different models that we're going to test 2.0.0 against to make sure that we cover every single aspect of testing to make sure your installation goes as smooth as possible. You're definitely going to want to stick around for this one. Let's jump in and do it together and get started. This is going to be a preview version of OpenCore Legacy Patcher 2.0.0 on all current installations now. So that's macOS Sonoma 14.6.1, macOS Ventura 13.6.9, and macOS Monterey. Keep in mind, I always put chapter notes in all my videos so you can jump to exactly the section that you want to or the certain Mac that you want to be able to see tested. But I'm going to come out with another version of the update video once macOS Sequoia 15.0, macOS Sonoma 14.7, and macOS Ventura 13.7. Remember, macOS Monterey is now not supported by Apple anymore. We want to make sure 2.0 works on those OSs so you can decide whether you want to stay on 14.6.1 or make the jump to 14.7 and so forth with 2.0.0. Okay, let's go over some of the major pieces of the operating system. First, is your unsupported Mac supported for OpenCore Legacy Patcher 2.0.0 and macOS Sonoma 15.0? First of all, 2.0.0 is supported on all unsupported models, and we are now at 83 unsupported Mac models that the developers have to be able to test against. The only models that are now off the chart are the 2018 MacBook Air that was recently dropped. That's what got the T2 security chip, and that is not supported yet, and that is now currently working on. And you can click on this GitHub right here to go over what needs to be done on these particular models, the MacBook Air 2018 and the MacBook Air Retina 2019. And again, this could change, but right now that's still work in progress. All the other models are supported. Now, when this first came out, major support was included for most of the newer models, but throughout the development work, some of the major metal supported Macs, and of course non-metal, wasn't working at all. It was just completely non-functional. So the major work was getting the metal supported from 2012 all the way up to 2015-16 working first. One of the things that needed to be done was special patches needed to be put together with the new MetallibSupport package. This is a wonderful process that the OpenCore Legacy Patcher developers put together to be able to support these models. What needs to be done is that this patch needs to be built on the server, and then your Mac is going to go out and get that patch when you're installing the root patches. And I'll go over this later, but this is kind of like a high overview of this. You can compare this to, for example, the kernel debug kit that you have to download for AMD model. So this will just be an additional download that will have to happen once you install the new patches. Now, the second piece that was worked on here was non-metal support, and that just came into working ability within the last week. And I didn't even think that this was going to be anywhere near close to be launching with macOS Sequoia, but here we are, 1.5 days before the launch on Monday, and we've got non-metal support. So let's take a look at that. First, Mykola made this announcement just a little bit after 12 o'clock noon on Saturday, September 14th, announcing full support for 83 different Macs. And I wanted to follow that up with my own celebration, and here's, as we call it, the king, the 2009 Xserve, a server-based hardware model that Apple came out with. That's one of my favorites. And here we are running full acceleration mode with non-metal graphics. It is just unbelievable to see how cool this is, that here we are. Right before the launch, we got full non-metal support. Now let's double back to look at some of the limitations that we have to make sure that we know about before making the jump. Now, when I talk about these limitations, remember this only has to do with macOS Sequoia. A lot of the users on OpenCore Legacy Patcher are going to stick with macOS Big Sur, macOS Monterey, macOS Ventura, and macOS Sonoma, not making the jump to Sequoia yet because it's so new. It's brand spanking new, and there is going to be issues. So we already talked about the T2 support. Now there's a single CPU limitation on 2008 Mac Pro and 2008 Xserve. Booting those systems with more than 4 cores will completely break Sequoia. OpenCore Legacy Patcher will automatically disable those additional cores. Now, I've got a 2008 Xserve also, so I haven't tested this yet. The only one we've got testing right now is a 2009, and I don't have a 2008 Mac Pro to be able to test this against. So I would love to know if you've got a 2008 Mac Pro. Let me know in the comments if you've already started and upgraded yet, if you've got that system working properly. When running an older OS, you can disable this limitation in the settings. Keep in mind, this is very important for the 2008 Mac Pro users. The patcher itself will disable that. But if you're running macOS Sonoma and under, go in there and disable this limitations, or you're going to be set to 4 core. Okay, so that's really important for these models, keeping that in mind. And then next, the photo application is non-functional for non-metal. Metal, it works fine. So if you are using photos and keeping your photo library in there, don't upgrade to macOS Sequoia yet until this is resolved. If you're on Metal 2012 or newer, or you have a Mac Pro, for example, or a iMac with a Metal compatible card, then you're okay. And this is obviously applicable to the pre-2012 Mac. So this gives you a really nice list here of all the non-metal models. As you can see here, anywhere between 2010 MacBook all the way to 2012 Mac Pro if you don't have a metal compatible video card. Now again, the developers are setting the expectations for macOS Sequoia. And you know that I've always talked about the stability of the latest operating system, and you need to take that into consideration when you're looking to make the jump or deciding which operating system you want to be able to use on your unsupported Mac. If you have a test Mac that's only set up for testing, make that jump to macOS Sequoia. Give it a shot. Give it some testing results. And inside the OpenCore Legacy Patcher Discord, there is a special chat in there, Sequoia Development. If you find a particular problem that you can post about, make sure you're as detailed as possible and don't expect a response right away. But at least people can see that and know that there's an ongoing issue that could possibly affect other people. When we talk about that active development here, we can keep an eye on these two pieces right here, the active development for metal and the active development for non-metal GPUs, and you can keep an eye on that, and you can get more information about those if you're curious about certain things that may or may not work for macOS Sequoia. Again, everything's working very good for macOS Sonoma and older. This is just having to do with macOS Sequoia to basically just keep in mind that this is an ongoing process and it will improve as time goes on. Supporting the OpenCore Legacy Patcher, I always want to make sure I mention this every time we come out with a new video. If you have the means and you would like to support the developers, you can do so on the official Open Collective page to support the OpenCore Legacy Patcher developers. Now, as we said, there's 83 different models that are supported and need to be done. I was just talking to Mykola the other day, and he was actually thinking about doing some work on the 2007 MacBook Pro. He's thinking that he might be able to work, but they don't have that model yet. When money is donated to the Open Collective, this is what the developers use to be able to purchase older hardware. Or, for example, a Mac Pro 1,1 to be able to do additional testing on that model. That might be able to be working one day, but they need the hardware. So again, if you have the means and you would like to support the developers, go to this page and I'll leave a link in the description. There's some big changes in 2.0 around the auto package creator, and the auto package is for when you create the install media and you install the operating system for the first time. You'll notice that you'll see the Apple logo and the black screen in the progress bar, and you'll see a percentage under there. It isn't the normal time remaining. This is the auto package installing the driver, so when you get to the setup assistant, you're not super slow and unaccelerated. There's some nice changes in that process flow. There was also a crash when you try to unpatch the system and then the host doesn't have the required patches. Now, when we talk about unpatching, let's take a look at that. Let's hop on over to our trash can Mac Pro here, and we've got 2.0.0. Now, when we talk about uninstalling the patches, here's the post-install root patches To uninstall those patches, this is the revert of the root patch process. It will go in and it will reseal the operating system snapshot with the original OS build, and all the root patches will be uninstalled and removed. Now this can be used for troubleshooting or anything like that that you need to be able to test, and that was what was failing on those particular units. If you ever get into a situation where you have a progress bar that's stuck, and let's say you installed the latest upgrade or update and you're stuck at that booting screen, you have to go into recovery and then remove the patches that way when you can't boot. Or you can hold down shift. Sometimes shift into safe mode allows you to get in the operating system, revert those root patches, and be able to troubleshoot from there. I'll include a link down in the description on a video walkthrough that I show how to boot into recovery and revert those root patches if something goes wrong in your system. Up next is implement a new software update catalog phaser for macOS installers. So let's take a look at that on our Mac Pro. If we go into the create macOS installer and then click download macOS installer, we can see the installer menu. You can see the difference here between 1.5.0 and the 2.0. You can see that we've got our build version out here. We've got our version number, the size, and the date here. And that gives us a nice even installer route here. You can actually copy this link if you didn't know, and you can get the full installer so you can download it over the Safari, for example. So you can just have the installer on the desktop. And you can also show older and newer versions of beta right here if you wanted to be able to download Big Sur, or if you wanted to download a beta version. Now there's another one here that talks around the patching for Haswell Macs and Mac Pro 6.1. Helps avoid an issue where older machines with newer unsupported SSDs would fail to boot. And this only affects building the EFI from another machine. So what does that mean? Well, if we fire up OpenCore Legacy Patcher from this host machine that I'm doing the recording, for example, this is what it looks like. MacBook Pro 16.1 2019 is the host Mac, and it doesn't let you build because it's not even in the supported list. But let's say we wanted to build it for our 5.1 Mac Pro or our 6.1. So we would go into the settings, we would go into the host model, and we would select Mac Pro 6.1 here. And this would allow us to be able to create a macOS installer and OpenCore Legacy Patcher supported boot disk directly from another machine. Let's say your unsupported Mac doesn't even have a operating system on it, or it doesn't work or whatever, and you just installed a blank SSD. That's fixed on this. There was a problem detecting the AMD Navi GPU on modded iMac 9, and 12, MetallibSupportPkg did that patch. Really nice work on that. This is talking about main macOS Sequoia support, and it gets into the problems with the Mac Pro, the 2008, with the 4-core issues that we talked about earlier. And this is the settings. So we want to be able to go in there and take a look at that, because again, I wanted to call that off. You're wondering why your 2008 is booting on macOS Sequoia with 2.0.0 and only has 4 cores. So let's take a look at that. So if we go into the settings here, the build tab at the top, this is the section here. But again, it's going to be grayed out unless you actually have one of the affected machines. You can see that the workaround is in place. But if you're running on macOS Sonoma, unclick this and you will not be limited to 4 cores. The next section talks about the 2018 and 2019 Mac Air that we mentioned in the beginning of this video that is not supported yet. And remember, things change extremely fast. Here I am talking about full non-metal support that I didn't even think was going to be on there for months, and here we are being able to install it. So this could change at any time, just like these 4-core limitations. So again, keep an eye on the change logs in the newer versions of OpenCore Legacy Patcher. Maybe these will be fixed in the future. And we also talked about the Photos app being broken for non-metal. Again, no time estimate is given for these. And the next one was for the MetallibSupport package, and we talked about that earlier in the video. If we look at that support package, we can actually see which models in here are supported by this package that is needed to be downloaded. These are the machines that had the trouble and are also going to require the MetallibSupport package system for downloading. So this is 2015 to 2017 MacBook, MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, Mini, iMac, Mac Pro and Xserve. Metal GPU is required. this is that new system, and I'll put a link in the description if you want to be able to take a closer look at this. And finally, we have some new macOS Sequoia icons at the boot picker, so it now detects macOS Sequoia properly and puts the new icon. There's also a Memoji crash on our 3802 GPUs that's fixed. Now, I recommend turning off the Memoji because it's just another graphics piece that could cause issues. And resolve photo memories tab crash on Intel Ivy Bridge and Haswell GPUs. And finally, our binary updates. One of the major ones is OpenCore now is at 1.0.1. Let's take a look at that. To check the OpenCore EFI bootloader version, go into Settings, and then click on App, and then scroll down a little bit, and this is where the release version will be. Now, when you first boot your Mac and you already select the EFI, you'll see release 1.0.1 in the lower right-hand corner when you select the macOS version. Now, what it looks like on previous version is release 100. And that's how you can tell the EFI version of OpenCore that you're booting with. The next thing we got to talk about is the asset information. There's been some confusion for new users on what they need to download and what each one of these does. Veteran users know exactly what they're doing here. But if you're wondering what these are, first of all, they're like, well, wait, should I download the first one? It looks good. It's 629 megabytes. Nope. The auto package assets are additional resources used by OpenCore Patcher, and they're automatically pulled when needed. Don't download. So this one, don't do it. But it needs to be there, and it needs to be able to be downloaded from the patcher itself. That's why it's in the repository. The next one is the OpenCore Patcher GUI app.zip. This is the one we've been using for a while now to be able to install just the application itself. But that is now deprecated. It is no longer recommended to just pull down this, but if you need it and you just need the app, it's totally fine, and it will be there for the time being. The next one is what we went over in the 1.5.0. This is the full uninstaller. So if you install it the new way, which is downloading this way, this is the correct way to install the patcher, the OpenCore-Patcher.pkg. It downloads a full installer to be able to just install the package and put all the things that you need on your system. But when you don't want that anymore, you can run the uninstaller and it pulls off all the pieces except the EFI bootloader from your system, including launch statements, logs, all that kind of stuff. And that's what the uninstaller does. But from now on, from this day forward and 1.5.0 forward, download OpenCore-Patcher PKG to install the patcher. That's just a fresh install. If you're going to do an upgrade, you come over here, and this is on 1.5.0, and we can take a look at what the upgrade looks like. So to get to check for a new update, all you need to do is close it and then open it up again, and it will check to make sure that you're on the latest version. And here we are. 2.0.0 is available. So now that we see that, let's jump into the demo of how to update to the latest version of 2.0.0. Our demonstration Mac for this update to 2.0.0 is a iMac mid 2011 27-inch model. It is on macOS Sonoma 14.6.1 and OpenCore Legacy Patcher 1.5.0. Now you just saw that 2.0.0 is out. How do you get to the latest version? Veteran viewers know how to do this, but if you've never updated before, all you need to do is open the app one time and it automatically checks for updates. So if we close it out, they're clicking Finder or Macintosh hard drive on your desktop, going into Applications, and then click on O to bring you to OpenCore Legacy Patcher app and double click on it. It'll immediately check for updates, and there it is. 2.0.0 is now available, and you have 1.5.0 installed on your system. Would you like to update? Now you have a couple different options. Let's say you don't want to update yet. Everything's working fine. I just want to stay. Dismiss. I wonder if you want to stay on 1.5.0 and you don't want to be bothered by those updates. Not a problem. Go into Settings and then click on App and then click Ignore App Updates. Now, I don't recommend this because, again, you don't want to get caught in a situation where a software update installs and then your system's not booting because a change was made by Apple and you don't have the changes to the patcher that you need to make sure your system's running right. If you got automatic software updates off and you want to stay in 1.5.0, that's fine. But I recommend periodically checking the GitHub to see if there's any updates. So click on Return. Now to get this to go though, what we need to do is close out and then fire it up again, and we will no longer get any update patcher notifications for the patch. We can remain on 1.5.0 and 14.6.1, but if we want to turn that back off, all we need to do is go into settings again, click on app, uncheck, return, close it out, and open it up again, and we will have our updater show up again. There we go. If you want to view this on GitHub, you can just click this and it'll bring you right to Safari and show you all the changes. You can scroll down in this window to see those same changes we went over, and you can see all the different information about the patcher, or you could just dismiss it for now and go on to do the things that you need to do in 1.5.0. I wanted to show you, and I've shown you this in past videos, but I want to keep showing you this to make sure if you want to be able to get OpenCore Legacy Patcher in your dock. Remember, it is an alias to the application support Dortania folder where the application is stored. So that's why you see the little alias here. Bring this down on the other side of the recently opened apps side, and then you can put that in there. Aliases can be over here. Now open it up from here, and you'll be able to put it in the dock. This is the application, and you can just drag this over here like this and have the actual application in your dock, and then you can see that it's on. Now that we got that done, let's download and install the latest version of 2.0.0. It's going to download directly from the GitHub and install it automatically for you. We'll give it a second to finish up. Okay, just about done here. There we go, installing the update. So while we're doing that, I wanted to show you that application support library, application support, where the actual application is stored in the Dortania folder here. And this is the application where the alias goes to. So we can select this as the list here, and we'll be able to see that change today at this time, which will be 5:45 p.m. once the update is installed here. There we go. 2.0.0 is installed, and you can see, look, there's the modification date, 5:44 p.m. And we'll close this window. Update successful. OpenCore Legacy Patcher has been updated to the latest version 2.0.0. Would you like to update OpenCore and the root patches on your system? Veteran viewers will remember I always do 1, 2, 3 steps. 3 steps to be able to make sure OpenCore Legacy Patcher is fully updated. Step 1 is the app. Step 1 is now complete. The app is at 2.0.0. Step 2 is to install that OpenCore to your EFI, the 1.0.1. Then step 3 is to install the latest version of 2.0.0 patches to be able to make graphics acceleration work, or Wi-Fi, or keyboard backlighting and stuff like that. This process is really simple because it's going to go through all those steps for you. So the first thing we're going to do is update the OpenCore EFI. So we'll click on yes. It's building it up, and we want to install it to our main EFI partition here. We're going to click disk 0 and then EFI. It mounts it up right here, updates the OpenCore, and then we're going to now go to step 3, and we're going to update the root patches on the system. We're going to click on yes. That's done. It unmounted the EFI. Now it's showing, hey, we've got Intel's Sandy Bridge, AMD Terascale 2, and Legacy Wireless. The last time we patched was August 9th with 1.5.0. Let's start that root patching process. Now it did check for the KDK, but it already found that, so we do not have to download it. And that's why I'm testing this now. This is like video number 1. Video number 2 will come out when 14.7 comes out, because that could be different with the patches in 2.0.0. We are testing 2.0.0 against 14.6.1, the latest version available right now. Some people might want to remain on this version for a while, so that's why we want to test 2.0.0 on the current OS versions today before the Monday release of macOS Ventura, macOS Sonoma, and macOS Sequoia. All the patches are successfully installed. Would you like to reboot now? Yes, we would. We're going to click on restart. Okay, we are back up. Let's go back into the patcher to verify that the patch is installed properly. We can do this 2 ways. We can go into the settings to make sure that the OpenCore EFI was updated properly, and there it is, release 101 from 100. That is done. And we can check our post-install root patches to make sure they installed properly, and there we are. All applicable patches are already installed. If for some reason that you see that there's still patches here, they need to to be patched again, you would start the patching. You can see that the last patching happened with 2.0.0 today, September 14th. So this 2011 iMac is ready to go with 2.0.0. Let's move on to our full list and see how they install with the latest version. Now, before we get into macOS Sonoma and 2.0.0, I want to first start off with our main show, macOS Sequoia. I've got 4 different models that have macOS Sequoia on there to be able to test against to make sure that we're running properly. And in the future, I'm going to split those videos up into 2 different videos because I know there's going to be a lot of people on macOS Sonoma and they want to make sure that the latest version of the security update patch is okay and the latest version of OpenCore Legacy Patcher installed properly. A lot of people are going to want to test out macOS Sequoia and put it on their Mac, so we're definitely going to cover that. We've got 4 different models today. We've got our 2013 Trash Can Mac Pro, and we've got 2.0.0 installed on it. We are on 15.0, and we are on Beta 8, 24A5327A. There was not a full installer for the RC release, so that's why we're on Beta 8. Once the full version, or the RC full installer, is released on Monday, September 16th, we're going to make the upgrade to that, and we'll do another video to make sure that there's no problems with the final release. We got our KDK build at 24A5327A. We've got for the post-install root patches, we've got AMD Legacy GCN, modern wireless, and the last time we installed was with a beta version 1.6.0 on August 27th. And everything is running A-OK on this Trash Can Mac Pro and macOS Sequoia. Okay, up next we have our MacBook Pro Retina 15-inch mid-2014. Now this one's got a lot going on. It has a non-KDK or non-kernel debug kit machine, so it doesn't need that, but it does have the system extensions and it has the new MetallibSupportPkg package system in here, and it takes a lot longer to patch. So let's go over it first. We are on 15.0, Beta 8, 2.0.0, and on this particular machine we have Intel Haswell, NVIDIA Kepler, modern wireless, and PCIe FaceTime camera. Last time we were patched was nightly 1.6.0, September 5th. The new MetallibSupportPkg package that I mentioned earlier is found here. You can see this stuff happening right here, MetallibSupportPkg. And this is going to take some time, a lot more time than in previous releases for Sonoma and lower, to be able to patch. And that's why I wanted to call this out so you could see this, and if you're wondering what's happening or what these are. The second part is if you see the system extension box that we've seen in the past, this is an example, Apple Intel Frame Buffer. So if we go to our library extensions folder, we can actually find that. And this is what kind of can happen when we're having booting problems. If we do an upgrade or something like that and these don't get cleared out properly before we do a patching, we will have problems. The only ones that should really be here is the high point OP and the high point RR. The other ones get cleared out automatically when we're doing an upgrade. And if these are stuck in there and they're old versions and they're not the latest ones, that's what can cause some of these booting problems during upgrades and stuff like that. So when you see this, you can directly relate it to the library extensions folder. And you can see that right in here. So this is our Kepler 2014 15-inch. Everything's running good with macOS Sequoia 2.0.0 OpenCore Legacy Patcher. Okay, next up in our list for macOS Sequoia is the oldest system we have, and I picked this one up from VCF Midwest Computer Show for $5. It is a 15-inch MacBook Pro, late 2008. And this is a really nice machine, and I wanted to go really far back in the list, and here it is. And we've got OpenCore Legacy Patcher 2.0.0 with macOS Sequoia 15.0 Beta 8. This is running a NVIDIA GeForce 9500M, and everything is working. We've got our Bluetooth, we got our wireless, everything's working. Now, keep in mind, since this is so old, that's not running in tip-top shape. It's a little bit slow. A couple of things are a little bit iffy, but it does have an SSD, so it does boot and it does operate fine. Like you can move windows and open up applications, and it does open, but there is a slight delay. Now, you might notice that I changed the background. On some of these older systems, I'm getting rid of that moving background. I'm turning off widgets. I'm turning off spotlight. I'm doing that to get the greatest amount of performance I can out of this system. And again, it's working pretty good. So that's our 2008 15-inch MacBook Pro. Okay, normally I go over each individual machine and talk about their ins and outs because each one has a little special different things going on with the patcher. But this video has already gone on a little too long, so we'll do a quick look over. We've got all these machines are on 14.6.1 and 2.0.0. We've got our MacBook Pro 2017 with Touch Bar and Touch ID works. We've got our early 12-inch 2016 model. Everything's okay on that. We've got our early 2014 11-inch MacBook Air. Everything's going good on that. We've got our Retina 5K 27-inch 2015 iMac. Everything's running good on that. We've got our Mac Mini 2012 with the Intel GPU working good. We got our Mac Pro mid-2010 with our upgraded Wi-Fi card and our AMD GPU that's been upgraded with metal working A-OK. We've got our MacBook Pro 17-inch late 2011 that's working A-OK. And finally, our MacBook 13-inch 2010 working A-OK with no issue. Hope you enjoyed this video. We've got a lot more to come. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions on any of the patcher process or any of the Sequoia questions or 2.0. We'll catch you in the next video. Thanks.